What I'm going to do for this demo is I'm going to smooth out 3 sides of this top. I'll start by choosing an enclosing rectangle to wrap this, which will make it a little easier for me to offset a few of the lines in. I'm going to offset the left side in 4 inches and the right side in 4 inches. I'll also offset the front edge in 12 inches. This just makes it a little easier for me to create the shape. Now I can use a 0 radius fillet to square up the corners. Now I'll delete my enclosing rectangle as I no longer need it. So I have this 3-sided or open shape that I want the gauge wheel to run around the outside of. I'll prepare this geometry by going to Tool Direction and setting up parameters for the open geometry, and I'll make sure the arrow is to the outside. I want the tool to stay to the outside of the geometry but still be contained to the inside of my outer perimeter, which I can set as my material blank, as I normally would for all Titan programs. Here we can see the 3D material blank. Next, I'll select a tool. For this example, I'm going to use a gauge wheel. I'll make that active in my drawing. I'm going to use a cycle open pocket using boundary. On the first setup screen, I'll choose Tool Center for the compensation, and I'll also choose Straight for the X and Y corners. I'll say OK, and on the next page, I'm going to use some common settings. The Safe Rapid level, I'll set to 5. The Rapid Down to, I'll choose 2 inches above the pod for this tool without a nut and bolt. The top of the material, 3 cm, I'll set at 1.2. And the final depth is going to be the final thickness of my material, which I'll set to 0.875. The difference between my 1.2 and my 0.875 is more than is recommended by my tooling manufacturer, so I'll choose to make it in 2 cuts, and I'll set that as 2 equal cuts. Check with your tooling manufacturer to find the max removal amount for your tool. On the next screen, I'll look through the tooling information. This information was brought over from the tool library. However, I can make any changes I want to at this time. I don't need any stock to be left around my open geometry. And the width of my cut, I'll set to 2 for my 4-inch cutter. And a gap between the boundary is on the material side. Maybe I'll set that to 1. This will make the tool go past the edge by 1 inch on entry and exit. The width of the last cut, if I want a nicer finish, I may change that to 1 as well, so the last cut is 1 inch wide. And make sure flood is on. Now when we say OK at the bottom of the screen, it says to select the open-ended pocket, which I will, and then it'll say to pick the boundary, which I will. I'll change this to an isometric view so that we can see the cuts and that we can see the 2 depths per pass. And as always, we'll watch it in simulation to make sure the cut is what we expected.